Good day. My name, for broadcast purposes, is Grandpa 1940. The title of my short speech, A Snapshot of a Vanished Paradise. I watched a rerun of the Irish comedian Dave Allen's tribute show, as I always considered him to be one of the funniest comedians on the box. The show was a compilation of outtakes from his shows and his own family, guests and friends giving their own tributes to a man. And halfway through, I found I was watching something very, very unusual. There was a clip where he visited Hyde Park, Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park, back in the days when everyone could stand on a box and address his audience. The speeches were Britain speaking to an audience and to the world, some talking absolute rubbish, and the whole world didn't take offence. But the best clip shown was when this coal-black bloke stood up and said, "England is great, there's only one thing wrong with England, and that's the English." You know what? Everyone around either laughed or applauded. No one took offence. No one grabbed a flagpole and hit a policeman. I doubt if there was even a policeman present, except maybe one enjoying the atmosphere, the banter and the jokes. Consider the day with hooded Muslim mobs ready to storm any speaker who dares to criticise a bloody religion, closely followed by the bloody police, ever eager to score ever more political points with their complacent senior staff, deputy commissioners included, those same police who will shut down debate because it's not conducive to the public good or some variation on that basic theme. The politicians have corrupted the basic law of this once great nation. They have skewed the legislation so an Englishman cannot stand up and say what he wants, because it may give offence to another, and that, folks, will never do. This country, which sent its forces to fight and sometimes to die, so that those basic freedoms would not be stamped upon by a Nazi jackboot, has itself imported by stealth the very ideas which would close down debate, shut down any outcry, because the same law which once protected us has been perverted and twisted, so that the police, along with the politicians who control the police, now rule the roost. Because that is what we have now in this once free country, a truly politicised police force. My point: an elderly man who looks after a dementia-ridden wife is awoken in the middle of the night by two men who have broken into his home, intent on robbing him. He confronts the pair and one, armed with a screwdriver, forces him into the kitchen. A struggle ensues and the criminal is injured. He staggers away, following his accomplice, but falls onto the pavement. His friend, I use the term friend rather loosely, tries to get him to stand, fails, and leaves him to die, driving off in his van. Some moron tries to revive the dying criminal and later states to the listening reporters, "I did my best, but it wasn't enough." What an idiot! Was he a trauma surgeon, bringing with him years of expertise in the treatment of knife or screwdriver wounds? But then the police arrive, view the house where the owner, along with his frail wife, had indeed been threatened, before fortunately he managed to slice the visiting scumbag in some vital area, and they promptly arrest the man who had been the victim of the burglary. Yep, they arrested the man who was the victim, because the clown who had attempted to rob him was lying in the bloody road. They arrested him on a charge of attempted manslaughter, but once the scrote on the pavement was pronounced dead, instead of praising the homeowner and proposing he be awarded at least an MBE for services to humanity for ridding the neighbourhood of a serial villain, they charged the poor man with bloody murder. I am convinced that if there hadn't been a nationwide uproar with questions to the Home Secretary massive headlines in all the newspapers, he would still be in a slammer, facing a trial, with his wife abandoned to the mercies of some care home. But worse was to follow, because the family of the dead scrote are now up in arms, sending boatloads of flowers to rest on the fence of the house which he had broken into, and uttering threats against the very life of the man who had killed their, in inverted commas, gentle hero who wouldn't hurt a soul. The result, the house is now all boarded up, the man and his frail wife are in protective seclusion, and he'll probably never get to go back to his own home ever again. Instead of arresting the career criminal scum and flotsam who made those vile threats, the police have given in, advised the bloke that he has to leave his home, his neighbourhood and his life because he's survived a vicious assault by a local scumbag. That's the country that we have inherited. God save the Queen, and God help the rest of us, because the bloody government definitely will not. I thank you for watching and listening to my viewpoints, and I hope to see you again soon. Good day.